Hello and welcome to Around the Bases. I am Ryan Sampson, but he's the star of the show, Jon Heyman. Jon, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing well. Today is Friday, June 21st. The Yankees coming off a series loss against the Orioles. They're 2-5 against them this season. What issues are you seeing with this Yankee squad right now?
Well, obviously the bullpen has not been very good lately. That's issue number one. Beyond that, their offense is rather top heavy, right? I mean, Soto and Judge are MVP candidates. Probably if you took a vote today, it's Judge one, Soto two or three. Gunnar Henderson's pretty good as well. So is Bobby Witt. But even with those two players performing at their optimal level, the offense has not been so great lately. The infield is not really hitting lately. So, I mean, Rizzo showing a couple signs, but he's out now for 8, 9 weeks. So he's out for a long time. Ben Rice has come up. We'll see. It's been 2 games. He looked fine at the plate, but obviously Gleyber Torres has not been great. Now he's got an injury issue. Volpe in a little bit of a slump, and third base, I don't want to say a black hole, but not getting big production out of third base. So really the entire infield is an issue, and we shall see at the deadline what they do. They've been really looking at relief to this point. I think they're kicking the tires a bit on the starters, but I mean, their rotation situation is better than almost anybody's, particularly with Cole back now. So bullpen number one, I think they're going to have to look at the infield. They were kind of counting on with Rizzo there, maybe him resurging a bit. LeMahieu had just gotten back. They thought he would be looking better, but right now it looks like they need infield help as well as bullpen help.
Yeah, it does look like they need the bullpen's the big thing. I think John, a lot of Yankees fans are looking at. It's been great to see guys like Michael Tonkin take, but they took it's just Ron Marinaccio sent back down. He struggled a little bit, for the Yankees. And there's a flaw here I think we're starting to see here with this team, especially in extra innings. They don't have those big strikeout guys. So do you think that is priority number 1 and 2? We got to get at least 1 or 2 strikeout guys to get in this bullpen to help fortify what they have there?
Yeah, I still think that the bullpen is priority number one. I think you're right, Ryan. Tanner Scott, big strikeout pitcher, the closer for the Marlins. They're going to get a haul for him. They're going to have to overpay if you want Tanner Scott. I think that the Orioles, the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Cubs, there are many teams in play for Tanner Scott. But there are other bullpen pieces, other potential closing types. They don't have to use them as closer, but closing types. I do know they like Garrett Crochet, but of course, everybody likes Garrett Crochet right now. If he's not leading the American League in strikeouts, he is certainly right up there as reliever turned starter, but he could be a reliever for an acquiring team. He would require a lot. Obviously, he's got 2 more years to go. Tanner Scott is a rental. So, that's probably the guy that they need to focus on, number one. But there are other relievers out there. But I'm with you, Ryan. That is the need, number one.
Yeah, John, it'll be interesting to see, over this next month how the Yankees continue to piece this bullpen together. I know they picked up the pitcher from the White Sox yesterday. He pitched a little bit yesterday, but it just they're trying to get as far as they can right now with what they got. The other thing I want to talk to you about, John, the next topic here is we saw in game one of this series, the Orioles, Suarez hits Aaron Judge on the hand. He doesn't play in game two. He played yesterday, game three, hit another home run. Seems like he's fine, but I think a couple of Yankees talked about it post game. Nestor Cortez said, "Yeah, of course we take issue with this," but your sense on what happened there with Aaron Judge getting hit in the hand and how he took it and how the rest of the Yankees team reacted to that.
Well, I would say the Yankees in general are not thrilled from what I hear. And I get it. I get their perspective. I know the Orioles fans are quite upset. I did a tweet saying the Yankees don't love the Orioles pitching style right now. And, that's to be expected when the best player, not only the best player on your team, the best player in the league is hit on the hand. And, when a player is hit on the hand, you get all those little bones in there. Obviously Mookie Betts was recently hit and he got 2 months out. Judge has been hit before and had months out. So it certainly was a big concern, big worry for the Yankees. I get it. Maybe the word style didn't rub the Orioles fans the right way. They cited stats, which I noted in today's paper and today's notes. Certainly the Yankees have more hit by pitches from the pitchers than the Orioles do. Yankees, at least when I wrote it, it might be updated last night, but Yankees were at the top of the American League in hit by pitches by the pitchers. Orioles at the bottom. So it was like mid 40s, 45 to 24, something like that. So I get it from both. I see both sides, but certainly if you're the Yankees and Aaron Judge is getting hurt, you or potentially getting hurt, you're gonna be upset. Now, thankfully for the Yankees, only missed one game, came back and home run the first game back, so he is fine. But it would have been really ugly, I think, if he was out for 2 months. I don't think the Orioles have a particular style beyond what other teams do, so I get it. I get what they're saying. I do think too many hit by pitches. This is a story for another day, but maybe they need to go for the sticky stuff back again or something like that, because we get too many guys are getting hit by pitch.
Yeah, we saw Gunnar Henderson get hit a couple times. He got plunked yesterday, obviously, and or 2 days ago, I should say, in game two. And you wonder if there was retaliation there. I just think it feeds a little bit, John, into this hopefully new rivalry. This Orioles team, they've been in the dumps for years, and now you've seen these young players come up and they're producing. Gunnar Henderson is an absolute superstar. To your point, he's an MVP type candidate. Adley Rushman, they have these studs that are the lineup is so good as well. So when you're seeing this Yankees Orioles team, they're so close in the standings, there's going to be a battle here. There's going to be the emotions that are flying between each other. And I thought that was while it stunk as a Yankees fan to see Aaron Judge get hit and miss game two, because you don't want to see him miss any time, it still adds a little bit, I think, juice to this rivalry that it's fun. I thoroughly enjoyed watching this Orioles series, even though the Yankees did lose the series. It was enjoyable. I don't know about you, how you were watching it, what you felt about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's fun even without the hit by pitches and without the maybe retaliation. I'm not sure, but I mean, the Orioles are a threat. Look, we're talking the Yankees are now 51-25. They're a half game in front, or by percentages, they're tied at this point. Same exact winning percentage as the Orioles. We can't be shocked by this. The Orioles beat them by 19 games last year. They're a younger team. They added Burns. Top to bottom, they're a deeper lineup. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, a lot of that or some of that comes from the tanking and the draft picks, and they drafted very, very well. Look, I mean, they had picks at the very top, and they did pretty well with those picks, but they did even better with the next pick, right? Gunnar Henderson was the 42nd pick overall. I think Westberg was the 30th pick overall. Right now, their lineup looks deeper than the Yankees. I mean, they've got one MVP candidate. The Yankees have two, but you look 1 through 9, they're pretty darn tough. Obviously, the loss of Bradish for the year, that will hurt the rotation, but the Orioles pitching is underrated. I think both teams are looking at bullpen right now. I think they're with all the starters going 5 or 6 innings. These bullpen guys are, I think, worn out at this point. So everybody's looking for bullpen. There's going to be a competition for Tanner Scott and the others, but there is definitely a competition in this division. Look, I picked the Orioles. I know the Yankees were favored, but the Orioles are a very young team, a very deep team. They acquired Burns, who's a true ace, who's been healthy the whole year. Cole just getting back. Obviously, not ready to throw his usual 7-8 innings yet, but that should help. But these teams are very, very close, and let's not be shocked if the Orioles beat them out.
Yeah, no, it reminds me a lot of what happened years ago with the Astros. This team that was in the dumps for a while, and then all of a sudden the young infusion of talent that came up, and they played. They look good. The Orioles look really, really good. So it's gonna be a fascinating finish to the. We'll see the race, the AL East, if the Yankees can end up winning that division. John, let's turn over to the team in Queens. They weren't obviously home, but they were in Texas. They had just snapped a 7-game winning streak. The Mets are playing good baseball. JD Martinez has been phenomenal. Francisco Lindor's been hitting great. Brandon Nimmo has had some pop recently. So when you're looking at this Mets team, what do you make? I mean, I know you've been not high, but like you have said all year long that this Mets team is better than what they've played and what they've put out there.
Absolutely. They're clearly better. They're still 3 games under. I think they're better than that still, and I think we'll see them continue to get better. The lineup is much better right now. Look, Vientos is a real threat in that lineup. Beatty was solid defensively, but let's face it, he didn't hit. JD Martinez didn't start with the team. He's now back to being himself. He probably got off to a little bit of a slow start, but he's a very good hitter, a professional hitter. That lineup looks overall very good. Lindor, obviously much better when it heats up. He's better in the summer. He hasn't been that good in his career in April. He was not good this year, same thing, but that lineup should be very good. Obviously, they're missing their ace Senga, but what I like about this team, beyond the fact that I think their offense is above average, is I think their starting pitching depth is better than most. You know, McGill and Peterson were not in the top five starting the season. McGill was put in there once Senga went down, but those were their 6 and 7 starters, and they're solid major league starters. So they have that going for them now. Diaz is back, which is a big plus. Obviously, they lost Raley. The bullpen is a concern, as it is with most teams at this point, but I think with the rotation being solid, the lineup being good, and I'm not backing down from the Mets are going to make the playoffs.
Oh wow, okay, you're saying that right now. That's how you're buying into them fully making the playoffs now.
Well, I said it. I wrote a column
Yep.
about 6 weeks ago, and I got guff, which I got because as soon as I wrote that on a day they lost 8-0. That was my early story. I stuck with it. I said they're going to make the playoffs. Obviously they lost that day. They lost that series to the Marlins. They continue to lose, and I was looking terrible. Now they're only one game out. Now it's a big one game because there are a lot of teams that are 1 or 1.5 out right now.
Yeah, that
And
National
I
League
do
wild
think
card's a
Arizona,
disaster.
yeah, Arizona's a lot better than its record. I mean, look, they're missing Eduardo Rodriguez. They're missing Gallen. They're missing Merrill Kelly. I mean, you miss your three best starters. That's a big blow. I mean, obviously the Mets missed Alvarez. They missed Senga, but not the same as missing three really star starting pitchers. So I think they're a really good team. And if they take that number 5 spot, Mets are only looking for that 6th spot. And, you still got Cincinnati hanging around, Pittsburgh, Washington. I don't think Washington will stay there, but still hanging around. I think San Diego's pretty good. They're hanging around. San Francisco, St. Louis. I mean, it's like 7 or 8 teams that are in the running for that one spot if you concede one to Arizona. I mean, I don't think anyone's conceding anything, but I kind of think they're a little bit better than the others. But I'm still going to say that with that one spot, the Mets are going to grab it.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of teams to your point, and they've been playing really good baseball. And you alluded to it a couple weeks ago. This schedule will lighten up for the Mets, and they're starting to see the returns. I mean, Texas is still a solid team, underperformed to what they were last year, but they're still a solid team. Taking that series was really impressive for them. They start against the Cubs, who again another team that hasn't played well this year. If they
Right.
keep stacking up these wins and series wins, that's the ultimate question, John, is when you come close to the deadline, we asked you, do you sense this as a seller or a buyer? How are you feeling right now about this Mets team? Are they just still in this state of let's just see how we keep progressing as we're going into the season before we even make a declaration of where we can go buying or selling at the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way they stand right now. Even if they wanted to sell, you can't sell if you're one game out. I don't care if you're under 500. You're one game out. You're a big market. Remember when the White Sox, is before your time, 97, they were 2.5 out. They traded 2 top relievers. Bobby Howry was one of them. I can't remember the other. It's been over 25 years, but that's been ridiculed for a quarter of a century at this point. Tough to trade. It's certainly if you're in New York. If you're one game out, you're Steve Cohen. You obviously have the funds. I know he's losing a lot of money, but the fans don't care about that. If they're in the race as they are now, 1-2 games out, they better not be sellers. Now, if you drop back and you're still under 500 and you're still 5 games out, then you might have to consider the sale. And of course, at that point, we're talking about Alonso, Severino, Minaya, JD Martinez. They can have a good sale. They're not going to have as good, believe it or not. The White Sox are going to have a better sale than them because they have players on cheap contracts or long contracts or control over these guys. Garrett Crochet, a young pitcher, just turned into a starter, has been great. Luis Roberts got 2 team options at $20 million, which is pretty good for a guy who had 38 home runs last year and is former Gold Glove winner. They've got Kopech out of the bullpen, a fairly young guy. They've got Eric Fetty making only 7.5 a year with another year to go. So I mean, even if the Mets sell, it's not going to be that great a sale. So, to me, they better not sell if they're within 2-3 games of the playoffs.
Yep. Well, interesting situation, obviously, and we'll see how it plays out for the Mets. John, let's bring this all home. Talk about your disappointing team of the week. Who is it?
Well, we've talked about them already. My disappointing team of the week is the Yankees. They just lost the game 17-5 to the Orioles. They've lost 5 of 7 to Baltimore, as you mentioned, and they are personally disappointing to me because I don't know how many people know this, probably nobody, and you probably don't even know this. When I'm on the road in Boston, you write an early story, you'd like it to stand up, right? I did a nice I polled a lot of people in the clubhouse. I did a poll of who's the MVP of the American League. Is it Soto or Judge or somebody else? And I did a lot of work on this, wrote the column, and here they blow that last game to Boston, lose that series. Issues are starting to show, and I have to redo it. So, I mean, I don't have to. I don't know if anybody would have called and said, why didn't he write a negative story? Why did he write a positive story? But, they were disappointing to me personally. I mean, I think when you go there at a night game, you often have to rewrite. But, with the Yankees, they won 2 out of the 3 games. Basically, you feel like you have a good shot at it if you write a positive early story. Goes in those editions in Florida and Boston and Philly and all that. But had to change it because the Yankees are showing some cracks on the infield, the bullpen. Even Luis Heel got ripped yesterday.
Yeah,
right?
you wonder about the innings limit on him, right? You start wondering.
Absolutely. And that's why they're kicking the tires on starting pitching. And that's not going to be easy. You're going to have to overpay for a decent starter. They're not going to be a ton out of there. Let's face it, these teams that are bad, they don't have great starting pitchers. They mostly have guys at best, kind of middle of the road guys
Right.
you could use them in the regular season, but who's going to trade a guy you can use in the playoffs? I mean, you may be Garrett Crochet, but he's got an inning situation too. He's 30-something innings over his previous high. So I'm not sure what's great starting pitcher is going to be out there. I think this is partly why Yankees are really concentrating on the pen. That is the key. They're going to have to look at the infield now too. And hopefully Wrights can do the job at first base, but still you got to wonder how third base is going, how second base is going. Obviously they're good at short. They're fine at catcher, good in the outfield. DH is fine, but they got a couple of positional questions now too. So they got a lot of things they got to consider at the deadline now, particularly for a team that's won twice as many games as it's lost.
Yeah, we're obviously being nitpicky with the Yankees and the season they're having. Obviously, they're one of the top teams in baseball. But like you said, the issues are starting to arise. You worry about Trevino throwing out runners. They're not good against these guys stealing bases. That's popped up recently. The bullpen, the infield. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Jon,
Right. Well, I'll just say my job is to be nitpicky, and it is only a week. 1 week award, right? It's not for the season. They were my disappointing team of the week. I'm sure if I went and looked at it, I could find Colorado lost fewer games. But does anyone really care about Colorado? At this point, I don't think anybody cares.
I'm not sure. Maybe the people
Nobody
of Colorado,
cares.
Jon. I appreciate
Nobody
it.
cares.
All right, Jon. Thank you so much for going around the bases as always. We'll catch you next week, man.
All right, Ryan. Thanks a lot.